Today on Twyne Tips, we are going to be talking about fireplace mantles and maximizing your space with frames and artwork. For the first idea that I have for the mantle using empty frames, ta-da, would be your average person would actually buy a frame and put a painting or a picture in it. Not me. You could utilize frames being empty and using them as artwork. You would put first a tall empty frame on the mantle and you would say, that's boring. No, then you bring in a little frame. Of course, I'm using my teenage daughter who does not want to come out on camera. You would use a smaller frame and you would think vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal. You would go horizontal. Okay, so pretty boring. Still don't have no clue of where I'm going with this. Now is when you start adding other things. Books. Decorators love using books. They're great to add height, great to add color in different forms, just a bunch of good ideas. I'm using the black books because I have the granite on the fireplace that's also black. Another thing, books. Okay, these guys are kind of boring, plain Jane. One says family affair. I don't care to show the labels. So I'm going to turn them around, and the fact that one is older and the other one's a little bit more newer works out wonderful because then there's a little bit of contrast in color. Next, I'm going to be adding greenery. Greenery is a wonderful space filler that adds a little bit of life. Here on this wall, it's kind of a neutral, boring color. So with the greenery, it's livening it up a little bit. Next, I'm going to be introducing iron. I'm going to add these candelabras that fell. Okay, so my assistant wasn't very good, but utilizing candelabras. Now, I have the frame, which is a much taller, which is kind of like my main focal point that I'm using as far as height. The candles that I'm bringing in are a little bit taller than the frame that I have here horizontal, just playing around with your space. You definitely want to play around with your space. You don't want to make it just like one big flat boring tall piece and then tiny little things on each side. So I'm adding more greenery, which I love. Greenery is also, it's just a great fun way to fill in space. Now last but not least, something that I have that I just love, the assistant, mom and daughter, would be my little and sign. My and sign, I'm utilizing it. You see how there's an empty space, boring? I am bringing this in to fill it in, kind of like, oh, greenery and greenery. No, but seriously, I have this piece to utilize kind of like the emptiness that I got going on in the mantle. This little setup would be a cute little setup, not very expensive whatsoever, for a home that's decorated kind of like the farmhouse, rustic, home design that you have. And then now I'm going to be bringing another look just to show some other ideas using your frames and your artwork, not always having to hang it up on a wall. I forgot my bird. Okay, so this is just me being my little pet peeve with my little bird, my little pew pew. There's my little rusted old bird. And I'm going to put it here in the corner with the candelabras. Reason why I do that is I personally love to fill out little spaces. Not clutter it too much either, but just fill it out. So I added my little bird. You have the candelabras right here on this space. Then you have empty space. Fill up empty space with greenery. Empty space. Sorry, empty space. Filling it up with the and sign. Empty space, filling it up with more greenery. And then here you have your other greenery. I think I did this a little bit too off to the one side. Or, nah, leave the birds on this side. Either way, this is how I would decorate the fireplace mantle in a farmhouse, industrial, rustic, no, not industrial, rustic, kind of like design, utilizing empty frames. Just for you, think about it. Next time you're walking at Michael's or any frame shop and you just like the frame, you could actually use it for artwork without artwork inside. Alright, so I'm going to continue with this thing of the frames. Obviously, I just want everyone to basically think out of the box and not think that when you purchase a frame, it has to be used for paintings. I want to try to educate those that might not think about it and just show different ideas. Talking about these empty frames, something else you can do is layering with the frames. Instead of having 2, you could also do 3. Of course, this depends on the size of your mantle. I do not have my teenager helping me. So, you could turn around this frame, make it vertical, and then bring in a smaller frame, and then make this one horizontal. Now, back to space. When you look at it all together, it really looks good. But since you have all the empty space, you could just bring in greenery. You could bring in little sculptures, anything that you have that's not too big, that'll basically utilize well the negative space that you have. But in a case like this, I'm just going to use these little green pens, and you would have your frames, and voila. Something like this also works wonderful if you're renting a home, apartment, studio, whatever the case may be. I know you can't be painting, drilling. There are certain rules depending on the landlords and all this stuff. Something like this would still work really, really well in basically the space that you have. If you happen to have or find a canvas, a print, or anything that does not have any frames that you could hang like this, or you just want to spice it up, something else you can do is hang your canvas on the wall. You could A, leave it like this with the frame just laying on the mantle, or B, you could hang the frame, and it would be so much better having a teenager help hang the frame and hang your picture, leaving the wall as your negative space, and just a little something different and cute, I personally think. Something else, after you finish with the frame, I need my teenager!
Teenager coming!
This is ridiculous, girl.
Hey, come.
Oh, you could hold the frame. Okay, so either way, this is a file folder holder. File folder holder, is that an actual word? That you mount on the wall for an office, and people would normally think, okay, you're gonna hang this on the wall to put folders, files, whatever it is. Not I said, Annie. I actually thought about this. Now, good mama, look, hold this up for me, please. This is my teenager. Straight, do I need to bring a level? Okay, so ignore the tag. Ignore the big head sticking in the way.
Straight going.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
Okay, just put it down for a minute. Let me explain it. So, if you're really... Think back. Okay, so something like this, you could just go ahead and recycle it for another repurpose. File holder, you could stick like some Spanish moss, foam. You could get some fun greenery. I thought this was kind of cool. Little pom-poms going on and stuff. Put some Spanish moss and make it actually look like a little arrangement in a full file folder compartment. So, being that the case, hold it up, please. Ignoring the tag, sticking your head out of the way, that actually looks pretty cute. I think so. That's another idea. Something else you could do is, if you don't want to do it that way, is if you have any like vases. Okay, give me those vases. If you have those vases, okay. If you have the vases, so not being glass or ceramic or whatever the case may be, you can actually put.
Second teenager coming.
Excuse me.
Estamos grabando.
Okay, let me hurry up because now they're all coming. You could use glass vases, put some greenery in them, or ceramic ones so you don't see it. Put artificial flowers if you want, whatever it is, stems. Oh my god. And then put vases inside the file folder. So in other words, here, hold this.
Oh.
In other words, you would utilize a file folder, not for the office, and you would put greenery and turn it into artwork utilizing an empty frame. Talk about repurposing. To the fact that we took a little bit longer with this twine tip because of some accidents. Tomorrow, stay tuned because we're gonna go ahead and show you what should have been on the same segment, but it's gonna be tomorrow.